Just one upcoming event, you have a flyer there. This is coming up on March 9th, so you have some time for it, but it's going to fill up. It's going to take place at the Sheraton Hotel Grand Ballroom, and we're bringing someone named Shabbos Kestenbaum here. You may have seen him on the news, on social media, on PragerU. He is the one that was a student at Harvard University on October the 7th, when all hell broke loose and demonstrations started way before Israel went into Gaza. On October 8th, there were already demonstrations all over Harvard not allowing Jewish students into their classes. And Shabbos obviously called the authorities to think that they would come to the Jewish students' aid, and they did not. And there's numerous other things that took place during those first few days that are just absolutely shocking. And he ended up suing Harvard in court. The case became worldwide famous. It led to hearings in the congressional hearings, and you remember the presidents of the universities, their testimony. This all began with Shabbos Kestenbaum suing Harvard. Ever since then, he's become an outspoken spokesperson fighting anti-Semitism, especially anti-Semitism online, the likes of which Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson's. He does battle with them quite effectively, to the point that last week, Candace Owens mentioned him by name. She said Shabbos Kestenbaum. She has to learn how to say Shabbos. She was struggling with the first name, but nevertheless, we are going to be honored to have Shabbos Kestenbaum join us here at the Sheraton Hotel. There'll be a formal lecture. After the formal lecture, there will be a moderated question and answer session with the editor-in-chief of the Jewish Journal, David Suiso, will be joining us as well for this open question and answer session. So we want you all, not just that you join us, but let your friends know about it. Spread the word that Shabbos will be joining us on Monday, March 9th at the Sheraton Hotel. As mentioned, today is the 10th day of the Hebrew month of Shvat on the Hebrew calendar. It's a very significant day in the Chabad calendar. It was on this day 76 years ago that the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, Rabbi Yosef Yitzchak Schneerson, passed away. He had arrived in the shores of America in 1940. And he lived in America for 10 years, bringing the Chabad movement and its headquarters to the United States of America. He was succeeded by Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson, who took on the position of the 7th Lubavitcher Rebbe 1 year later. So again, that would be the 75th anniversary today. 75 years ago today is when the Lubavitcher Rebbe, our present Rebbe, became the leader of the Chabad movement. So I just want to share a short story with you, and then we'll get back to the subject of tzedakah, of charity, that we've been talking about in the book of Deuteronomy. During World War II, when the American forces were recapturing Europe, there was tremendous hunger and starvation all around. Now, the American soldiers had some supplies of food with them to distribute to the liberated people. In their backpacks with food, they also had Hershey bars. And the reason they carried Hershey bars was for the children. Children were frightened of soldiers, everything that they have witnessed, that they have seen. And so the American soldiers would give the children of the cities that they were going into these Hershey chocolate bars to calm the children down, to befriend the children, to tell the children, we're friends, we're not the foe. As the story goes, there was this American Jewish soldier whose battalion was about to liberate a concentration camp. The soldiers had not yet seen the inside of a concentration camp. This was going to be their first one that they were liberating. So before they went in, the commander got all of his troops together, got the platoon together, and he said, I need to tell you that what you're about to see will be like nothing else that you have ever seen like this. The world hasn't seen what you're about to see. And hopefully you'll never experience something like this again, and hopefully humanity will never experience something like this. You will not believe that human beings could be capable of doing this to other human beings. The people that you're going to see that we're going to liberate are skin and bones. There's literally nothing left to their body. They have not eaten anything beyond scraps and morsels of food in years. So whatever you do, And as tempted as you will be to take the food from your backpack and give it to them, as you've done in the other cities that we've gone into, we're instructing you not to give them any food, because their bodies will not be able to digest it, and you're going to kill them. They need to be medically brought back to health first before we can start feeding them regular solid foods. And I'm warning you that the temptation is going to be great because they're starving. And they're going to ask you for food. And you're going to have to hold yourself back from reaching into your backpack to give them food. But know this is in order to save their lives. We have medical teams coming in. The medical teams will assist in this. But right now, when we enter, don't give any food. Especially to the children. Don't give those Hershey bars. No matter what, don't do it. So the soldier telling this story, the Jewish soldier that told the story afterwards, was expecting the worst, but yet nothing could prepare him for what he was about to see. And he was in a total state of shock. And yes, people were begging for food. And he described how his heart was breaking. And then this starving child walked up to him and reached out his hands and said, "Food." He said, "My heart was breaking." This little innocent child, the Jewish child, begging for food. And I have the Hershey bar in my backpack. And I can't give it. I can't give it. He said, "I was crying on the inside." So I said to the child, "I don't have any food that I can give you, but I can give you a hug." And with that, I reached out and I embraced this child and held this child close. Tears were flowing down my cheeks. And then he said this most incredible thing happened. All of the children lined up to get their hug. And when the children finished, the adults came. A hug of humanity, that another human being was embracing them. I share this painful story with you because perhaps it helps us understand the Lubavitcher Rebbe when he came to the leadership of the Jewish world. Because he understood that this generation, this post-Holocaust generation, more than anything else, needed a hug. It needed an embrace, needed love. If Hitler Yamach Shemai demonstrated baseless hatred, then the Rebbe wanted to fill the world with baseless love. And he went out and he embraced a Jewish generation with warmth, with Ahavas Yisrael, with this love and acceptance of each and every single one. This was not a time for condemnations. It wasn't a time for judgmentalism. It wasn't a time to question who is observant, who is not observant, and why. Each and every single Jew on the face of the earth needed to know that they were vital to the future, they were vital to the survival of the Jewish people, and they were great as they were, accepted as they were. And over the years, the Rebbe deputized each and every single one of us, not just the rabbis and the Rebbitzins, but everyone, to be part of this great renaissance of Judaism. Yes, each and every single one of us have a role to play in this historic mission. You don't have to be a scholar. You don't have to be an educator. You don't have to be ordained. You need to simply have the desire to share that which you have found with someone else. Embrace. Hug. I'll share one more story and then we'll get to the subject of the class. There's a colleague of mine, his name was Avram Berkowitz. So during the summers in the Chabad world, in our youth world. Some of us went off to camps, some of us started day camps, some of us went to sleepaway camps, we were staff members there. Some signed up for what was called Merkes Shlichus. What that meant was you gave up your summer, you signed up in headquarters in New York, and they would assign you a place in the world, anywhere they want, in the world. I'm talking about the strangest parts of the world. You would be sent there for the summer to visit any Jew you can possibly find in these remote areas. So areas that didn't have a synagogue of their own, that didn't have a Jewish community, but maybe there would be 15 Jews there, maybe 7 Jews there, maybe 40 Jews there. They wanted someone to reach out and go to these cities and meet with anyone. What are your needs? What can we get for you? Would you like some Jewish books? Would you like a prayer book? What would you need? And keep this contact going. And so thousands of my classmates, this is what they would do. They would go out for the summers and spread out throughout the world. So Avram Berkowitz was sent to a place, a remote part of Alaska. That's where the turf that he got, to part of the last frontier state, so to say. He came to a small city in the northwest part of the state. And what's he looking for? He's looking for Jews. He doesn't find anyone. So he goes to City Hall. And in City Hall, it's a small little townlet. The mayor himself is there, and he tells the mayor, I'm here to visit any of the Jews in the city. So the mayor says, in this town, I know everyone in this town. No Jews here. But you look different. You look funny. You don't look like you're from here. Would you mind coming to our school, our elementary school, and tell our students who you are, what you're here for, what you're all about? And so he said, all right, I'm here anyway. It's primarily an Eskimo-populated school. So Berkowitz is talking to the kids. He's sharing some teachings about Judaism. They start sharing Eskimo dances with him. He's having this exchange. And then he tries his luck. He asks them, have any of you by any chance ever met a Jew before today? One girl raises her hand. And she says, I have. My mother. And she's standing right there because she's the 4th grade teacher. Wow. He found one. A live Jew here. So after class, the mother was visibly moved, thanked Rabbi Berkowitz for coming, and she explained that growing up, she had always loved nature, and therefore she would travel often to Alaska, and she fell in love with the area, and then she fell in love with a native man, and she has her child here, and she says to Berkowitz, you know, living here, I don't think my daughter will ever meet another Jew in her life. They don't come around too often, let alone a rabbi. So can you give my daughter a message of Judaism that will stay with her for the rest of her life? Imagine you're put on the spot. You got to come up with that one sentence, that one paragraph, and this is her Judaism for forever. So he's trying to think of what words, what's going to come out of his mouth. We often do that where we're just hoping that we open our mouth and the right stuff comes out. So he tells this girl that the most sacred day of the week for the Jewish people is Shabbat. And for Shabbat to begin, it starts with the women and the girls lighting a candle. That they usher in the most sacred time of week. But it starts with the girls and the women. When they light the candle, sanctity comes into the world. That sanctity brings peace and light to the entire world. It's a blessing that comes down to the world. And that's something that takes place wherever Jewish girls or women live. Do you know who the first girl to light a candle is? That would be someone in New Zealand or Australia.
Sure.
because that's where Shabbat would come first. So there's some girl in New Zealand that lights a candle and poof, there is a blessing that comes down to the world. And then in Asia, and in Israel, and in Europe, and then in New York, and then in Chicago, and then in Seattle, all the way to Anchorage, Alaska. But even then, Berkowitz tells this girl, there is one part of the world where the sun had not set yet. Right here, in the Yupik territory of Alaska. This is the last spot on earth that a Shabbat candle could be lit. So when mothers and daughters all over the world have already welcomed the Shabbat, God says, I still have to wait for one more household in the world to light that candle and bring the blessings into the entire world. That's your job. The whole world rests on you. So this Friday, you and your mom, you'll light that candle. I'll give you a calendar showing you exactly what time every Friday. I'll show you the blessings. And know the whole world waits for your light. This brilliance of what Rabbi Berkowitz said really is the message that the Lubavitcher Rebbe gave to every single one of us. You matter. You count. Your mitzvah, your deed matters. Don't think you're small. Don't think you're insignificant. Every deed you do matters. Don't fall into the labels. Don't fall into I'm Reform, I'm conservative, I'm Reconstructionist, I'm Orthodox, I'm Modern Orthodox, I'm Hasidic Orthodox. Don't fall trapped to that. That's man-made nonsense. We're all one. We have one Torah. The mitzvot were given to each and every single one of us, and we each try to do the best that we can. Your candle matters. Your mitzvah matters. So on this day, on the 10th of Shvat, the 75th anniversary of the Lubavitcher Rebbe's leadership, let's apply ourselves to his teachings and to spread the word that every Jew matters. Every person we bring to a class or to a Shabbat service, to wherever it may be, it matters, it has significance, and indeed will light up the entire world. Maimonides. I printed some sheets for you. Maimonides lists 8 levels of tzedakah, of charity. And we're going to start from number 8 and work our way to number 1. They're all good. They're all charity. It's all a mitzvah. All good deeds. But he goes ahead and he gives us an order, a list of you want to know which is the best way to do it? And this is what he published. Number 1, giving begrudgingly. You give, but you're upset that the person came in to ask you. But the fact is you gave. You didn't turn around, you didn't walk away, you didn't close your hands, but you may have closed your heart a little bit. But the fellow is eating the sandwich that you paid for, so at least he's eating. The deed was done, but there was some begrudging that was done over there. And the insight on this is that the physical act of the mitzvah itself still has power. Power meaning you fed someone that's hungry. But the soul of the mitzvah, the spirit of the mitzvah, is the joy that comes along with it. And when that joy is missing, the light is slightly diminished. God wants you to give, but to be happy that you have the opportunity. Sometimes the poor person comes before you and they're begging for food, and you really wish they wouldn't be here. But you don't have the heart to say no. So you give. So it's level number 8. Again, the person was able to go and get a sandwich, so you did good. You get the check mark. You did tzedakah, but it's a level 8 tzedakah. Let's move to level 7. You gave less than appropriate, but you did it with a smile on your face. Now, you can argue and say, I would put this as number 8 and put number 8 at number 7. That's you're entitled to your opinions over here. This is the way Maimonides lists it. Maimonides says at least the heart is open, the spirit is there. And if the spirit is there, okay, you could have given a little more, but you enjoyed it, so next time you're probably going to want to do more. Because the spirit was there. You were happy that you had this opportunity. You weren't happy that there was a poor person. You're happy that you had an opportunity to help someone. So this joy reflects this inner goodness, but growth requires an alignment between the feeling and the action. The soul here has to train the body to expand, which means the soul, the good feeling that prompting you to reach your hand and take out your wallet needs to expand it. Of next time it could be a little bit more because you can afford a little bit more. That's a level 7 charity. Let's get to a level 6 charity. Giving after being asked. You give properly and you feel the joy of helping, of giving, but only when you're asked to give. If no one comes to you, you're not giving anybody because you go on with your life. So you're focused on yourself most of the day. But if it happens to come your way, you're going to give, and you're going to give enough, and you're going to give joyfully. That's a level 6 charity. This is reactive kindness, as he calls it. It's good, but it's limited. Holiness begins when a person moves from reaction to initiative. Take the initiative and give. Let's get to level number 5. Giving before being asked. You know there's a need and you respond before the solicitation. You're giving enough, you're giving joyfully, no one had to ask you, you go ahead and you give. And this is a spiritual sensitivity where the soul learns to notice divine images in others before it's verbalized. The person didn't have to ask me, I recognize that this soul in a body, this human being created in the image of God, needs. And therefore, I want to be there to help. No one had to ask me to do it. I just did it. Let's get to number 4. Turn the page to the top of the page, on the back side. Now, number 4 is the recipient knows the donor, but the donor does not know the recipient. So, again, the recipient, the one who's receiving, knows who gave the money, but the one who gave the money doesn't know who's receiving it. There's going to be, from 4 going all the way to 1, there's going to be now the focus on the poor person themselves and the poor person's dignity. So when the poor person knows who's giving it, there's a little bit shame, but at least he doesn't know that he gave it to me. This still creates this emotional imbalance because the recipient feels indebted to a person. He knows this guy gave me the money, and it always stays with him. Number 3 is the opposite. The donor knows the recipient, but the recipient doesn't know the donor. So I recognize that there's someone that needs. I go ahead, I collect for this person. I drop it off for the person. The recipient has no idea who the donor was. This protects the recipient's dignity more effectively. Let's get to number 2. Number 2 is complete anonymity. Neither knows the other. So when you give to a fund, someone's making a collection for poor people in general. We don't give you a list of who these poor people are, but we just say there's poor in the community that we need to help. And you write a check to the fund. You don't know who's receiving it. And the fund has a very anonymous way of dropping off the gifts so that the recipient doesn't see who it's coming from. In New York, and in LA now too, they've started this as well in New York, but there's groups called Tomchei Shabbos. And it's an amazing organization. They raise funds literally for food. They have a large warehouse, a lot of staff, volunteers that come in. They package food packages. They'll drop it off at homes in the middle of the night. So the person opens the door and there's box loads of food there. The donors are simply writing a check to Tomchei Shabbos. The recipients never see who's dropping it off. They don't even know who the volunteers are that work for the organization. And there's thousands that will get these gift packages. That's what Maimonides is trying to say is, keep in mind, it's hard being poor. To have to know that someone took out money and handed it to you, that's painful as well. Again, it's better than being hungry. So if someone walks in and says, I'm hungry, and we feed that person, that's the right thing to do at the time. We don't have to start worrying about, hey, but I have to be anonymous. No, a person's hungry in front of you, you feed the person. So it's a level 8 charity, it's good too. It's a level 6 charity, it's good too. All these levels I said, they're all good. Nothing is bad here on this list. But if you can find a way to help someone without them knowing who you are, and without you knowing who they are, says Maimonides, wow. That's beautiful. You've opened your heart, you've opened your hand, and you didn't take away their dignity. And yet he says, there's one level even higher. And that's, when we get back to text inside, that would be, I think it was verse number 8 of chapter 15. The highest form of charity, he says, is helping a person become more independent. An interest-free loan so that they can get back on their feet. Guiding them to open up a business. Helping them get a job. You haven't taken out $1 from your pocket. And says Maimonides, that could be the highest form of charity. Because now, you've taught them how to live on their own. The poor person doesn't want to remain poor. The poor person doesn't want to have to rely on others to give. You've given them the opportunity to have their self-respect back. It may turn into charity. Remember last week we said if the person comes to you on year 6 and 11 months, and in 1 month alone, because of the Jewish system of Shemitah, which if you forgot, if you weren't here last week, we'll repeat when we get back to it. But if the person doesn't pay you back in 1 month, that loan gets canceled, says the Torah, give him the loan anyway. But he may not, so then it'll turn into charity. But when you gave it to him, you gave it to him as a loan, so he kept his self-respect. In a month from now, if it turns into charity, it'll turn into charity. So this highest level, enabling self-sufficiency, says Maimonides, that could be the greatest thing. And I always urge people, especially successful business people, besides for asking them to give charity, which they should, mentor some young teens. Mentor some young people in the business world that can't make it. Because you have something, you know something, there's some experience that you have that you can share with others that's far more powerful than writing them a handout for that day. Because now you've given them a life. There is no greater feeling than mentoring someone and seeing them succeed. And it's not just one today, give them advice. Stay with them. Check in on them. How are they doing? I want to compliment Jack Lynn because I know he does this all the time. I've seen him in action. And I don't mean to praise you in front of your face, but I'm using you as an example because I've seen you do this. Where he mentors young people. He goes on the college campus. He rounds up people because of his past experiences in various different businesses, and he coaches them. And then he stays in touch with them. It's something we can all do in our own ways, whatever way it may be. Or that interest-free loan, that person that just needs to get by for this month and doesn't want to ask for charity. And you say, you know what? I don't want you to stress this whole month that you couldn't pay your mortgage. So let me give you the mortgage payment for this month as a loan. You'll pay me back one day. Don't worry about it. But this will give you a month stress-free to try to rebuild your life. This, says Maimonides, taking in mind the psyche of the poor is the greatest form of charity. And people find this so fascinating that Maimonides wouldn't say the greatest thing would be write the check, write the check. Now again, he's not negating the writing of the check, but he's saying there's something that could be even more powerful. Next week we'll do these 5 forms of tzedakah. That will be the next sheet, so we'll hold on to these. I just want to share a story with you, maybe more than one. In April of 1945, this is shortly after the war, there's thousands of Jewish refugees that ended up in the city of Trnovitz. Trnovitz is formerly part of Romania. Now, these were weary, poverty-stricken, broken souls flocking to the area, looking to pick up the pieces of their lives. Among the Jews, the refugees that ended up in Trnovitz, was a saintly man known as the Skulener Rebbe. He was a Hasidic Rebbe of his movement. His movement was called the Skoliner. My guess is they came from a town called Skulin. All these names, Lubavitch and Satmar and Bavov and Belz, they're named after the Shtetlach, the cities from which they came. Passover was approaching. The Skoliner Rebbe was concerned that the Jews in Trnovitz wouldn't have any matzah to celebrate Passover during the upcoming holiday. And it's been so long in the horrors of the concentration camps that they weren't able to celebrate Passover. So now that we're finally free, we should be able to celebrate a Passover Seder with matzah. So he took it upon himself. He sought out a local farm. He got hold of some wheat, got hold of a millstone and an oven, and began with some of his Hasidim producing matzahs. He started baking matzahs. He let it be known to all the Jews in Trnovitz that I will hopefully have that each one of you can come and get 3 matzahs. And with the 3 matzahs, you'll be able to have your Seder. He spread word throughout the Trnovitz to let all the other rabbis that survived, wherever they may be living in Trnovitz, that they should send someone to pick up 3 matzahs per household. It's a week before Passover. A young man shows up. His name is Moshe Hager. And he comes to the Skoliner Rebbe, introduces himself, and says, "My father is the Vizhnitzer Rebbe," another Hasidic group. He was the son of a Rebbe himself. My father heard about the offer that you have matzahs, and he sent me here to pick up matzahs for his household, for our household, for the Vizhnitzer Rebbe's household. So the Skoliner Rebbe says to the son of the Vizhnitzer Rebbe, follow me on this, I know the words might be a little tongue-twisted here. I am so honored to give your father matzah for his Seder. And he took out 3 matzahs, and he handed it to the son of the Vizhnitzer Rebbe. The son says back to the Skoliner Rebbe, Skoliner is the one that baked the matzahs, you're following me on the story? Stay with me. The son says back, my father asked if he could receive 6 matzahs. So the Skoliner said, I would love to give him 6 matzahs, but I'm trying to ration it so that there's enough for everyone, and that's why I set a limit of 3. Says the son of the Vizhnitzer Rebbe, my father heard that the amount was 3, and yet he told me to personally ask you for 6. He's a Rebbe too, and if he knew that the limit was 3 and yet told me to ask you personally for 6, he knows why he's asking. Skoliner Rebbe says, say no more. You're right. If your father's asking for 6, I need to respect that for who he is. Here's 6. And gives him 6. It's the day of Erev Pesach, Erev Passover. Moshe Haber is back in town. He needs to see the Skoliner Rebbe. This is the son of the Vizhnitz that took 6. He's back in town. He needs to see the Skoliner Rebbe. Of course, the Skalina Rebbe hears that the son of the Vizhnitzer Rebbe is back. He comes out to greet him, thinking, okay, he wants some more now, maybe. He says, I am here to bring you back 3 matzahs. I don't understand. You made such a thing about that. You needed 6. You needed 6. He says, no. You don't know my father. My father knows you so well. And my father said, I know what's going to happen. The Skalina Rebbe is going to give out matzah after matzah after matzah. And it's going to come down to that there's only 3 matzahs left. And that's he needs for himself, but someone else will come with their hands out. And he's going to give away his own 3. And he's not going to have matzah for his own Passover Seder. I know that that's what he's going to do. And the man that put so much effort to see to it that everyone else would have matzah, that he shouldn't have matzah on Passover himself, I can't live with that. So this is my plan. You tell him that I need 6. And when he turns you down and only wants to give you 3, tell him that I am personally asking, I need 6. And he won't turn me down because I know him too. And he'll give you 6 so that you can bring him back 3 right before Passover begins, so that he will have matzah himself for Passover. And indeed, he was so right, because the Skalina Rebbe did not have a single matzah for himself, had it not been that the Vizhnitzer Rebbe sent matzah back for him. I love this story because I can ask you this question and I don't have a definitive answer. Who is the more selfless person of this story? The guy that baked the matzah? The guy that baked it all for everyone else to have, and he gave away his very last one? Or the guy that had the foresight to say, hey, he's going to give it all away, I better protect 3 for him. Both. This is the idea of thinking about the other person when we're giving charity. That it's not just the giving, but it's thinking it through. That's what we're trying to accomplish. In the synagogue of Reb Moshe Leib of Sasov, there was a problem with the congregation. Most rabbis in the world have a similar problem. People would come to the synagogue and they would start chatting. Whatever synagogue you go to, have you seen that problem a little bit? There's talking going on, right? And they start speaking about mundane issues. Let's modernize the story. I don't think that's what they spoke about in Reb Moshe Leib of Sasov's synagogue, but did you see the Dodger game last night? Oh. Did you see the football? Terrible call. They blew the game. Yes. And we start talking about this and that. And we start chatting a little bit. And the chatting gets a little louder and louder and louder until the rabbi goes, shh, gets quiet for about 5 minutes, and then it starts up again. It's a universal thing. So whether it's business or it's politics or gossip perhaps a little bit, right? So there was a lot of this talking going on in the synagogue of Reb Moshe Leib of Sasov. After a great deal of discussion, they decided to issue a new rule for the synagogue. From now on, there is no talking in the synagogue. Praying only. That's it. Some synagogues have the big banners, Asur Ladaber, you're not allowed to speak here. Every synagogue has tried this, right? No talking, only praying allowed. But here they were going to enforce the law. They were going to be gaboyim. These are going to be enforcers that will walk around, and if they see you talking, they'll point you out. Shh. You don't want to be embarrassed in front of everyone by having a shh coming at you. Got very quiet in the synagogue. 1 week, 2 weeks. Everyone just praying. It's working out. A few weeks go by. The rabbi gets up for his sermon and he says this: I understand the last few weeks it's been quiet in the synagogue, and I understand it came about because of a new rule put down by the board of the synagogue. But as the rabbi, I am hereby revoking the new rule that was instituted in the synagogue. I have veto power, and I'm going to use it to revoke that rule. Why? Why did he revoke the rule? So he said, Before this rule, people would come to the synagogue, and yeah, there would be a lot of talking going on, but they would also hear that Yankel the tailor is hurting and can use some more business. So during the week, people made sure to go to Yankel the tailor to make sure that they gave him some business. Or they heard through the grapevine that Beryl lost his job. And it would spread, and so someone went to Beryl on Monday and said, you know, if you're looking for a job, I have an opening for you. And they would hear about Blima the widow, that she can't feed her orphan children, so they would find a way to drop off some food there. Or that the cow of Kalman, the farmer, died, and Kalman doesn't have the funds to buy a new cow, so they would put together a fund to buy him a cow. Yes, there was chatter going on, but amidst the chatter, there was also a community. And people were hearing about each other's needs, and they would step up to be there for them. For the last 4 weeks, it's been so quiet in the shul. But at the same time, all of that stopped too, because no one knows who is in need. And so, yeah, it's not good to talk about baseball, but if it's about someone in need, it's as holy as opening the prayer book as well. So talk about it. Spread the word that someone's in need. This is the mindset that we have to have. This is why the idea of a kehillah, of a community, is so important. Yes, it's about coming together to pray. Yes, it's about the prayers. Yes, it's about reading the Torah. It's all about, absolutely, I'm not taking away any of the holiness and spirituality of what a synagogue is for. But it's also there to form a community of people that care for one another, because it's one family. And when we hear one person is hurting, it's not about gossip. It's about what can you do about it. Can you help? Please help. Find a way to help. The Talmud tells us that if someone has a tree that became sickly, the tree has an illness, a disease, and stopped producing fruit, he should paint red stripes around the trunk of the tree. Strange, huh?
Very.
You have a tree, it's an orange tree, and suddenly it's not producing orange. Take some paint, take a paintbrush, and paint a red streak on the bottom of the trunk. Why? So it explains. Because then when people would pass by and they would see that a tree was in trouble, they would stop and they would pray for the tree right there. They would say, God, please help this tree out. The tree needs some help. So it's before Tony Orlando and tie a yellow ribbon around the old oak tree. This is maybe where Tony Orlando got it from. He studied the Talmud a little bit, and he said, change it from red to yellow. So let's try it the next time you're having car problems on the freeway. Just tie a red ribbon there to the antenna. Maybe someone else studied this piece of Talmud and will stop by and give you a hand. But the idea is that Judaism built in this feeling, this sense of connection and responsibility for each other's well-being. Your tree is not doing well, everyone should be praying for your tree. When we pray for those who are ill or those that are in need, God forbid, we don't just pray for that person as an individual, but we add the words, in the midst of all the sick of Israel. When we say someone's name in the Mishaberach, we always say, in Kol, all those that are ill. We're praying for all. I know about this person specifically, but I'm not isolating just this one. God send healing. You ever been in the house of Shiva? When you leave, there's a traditional prayer that we say, Hamakom Yenachem Eskem, God should comfort you amongst all the mourners of Zion and Jerusalem. You're not alone. You're part of a family. We let people know that they're not alone in their pain, in their bereavement, or in their needs, that we share in it because we're one family. And the same is true in the times of joy. It's a shared experience. The very word simcha, by definition, means happiness that is shared with others. Because the joy, true joy, is only true joy when we share it collectively, when we share it with friends. And that's the real gift of a community, that you come together in happy times, celebrating times, dancing together, and we're there for one another in difficult times as well. We'll stop over here. Next week, we'll start off with the 5 forms of tzedakah. We'll keep moving our way through this very powerful chapter 15 on the subject of charity.